Hangout. We don't have anybody watching currently. Apparently, there was one person waiting, but they're gone now. But welcome to Red Pill Nation Hangout number 447. I am your host, Naroki5. With me today is Roger Hansen. And it's only Roger Hansen. I don't know what happened to everybody else, but Roger Hansen is here. So, Roger, introduce yourself.
Well, I mean, it's not really something you should be bragging about. You know what I mean? That Roger Hansen's here. I'm
Oh
all,
my God, Roger's here. Oh,
yeah, there
whatever
you go.
will I
That's
do?
better. That's better. That's the way to do it. Did you hit start on your stream?
Oh, we're streaming right now. Yeah, it's about a minute in already.
Oh God, I said that out loud.
Yes, you did. All
Oops.
right, so Roger Hansen is here. That is pretty much it. For those of you who don't know, I have a Patreon which I don't ever really go to. I'm going to have to actually start paying a little bit more attention to that. But I am on Patreon. I am currently in order of size of followership, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, and YouTube. I was going to bravely and boldly announce that I passed past 200 on BitChute, and then I posted up a whole because of the way BitChute is structured. I had to post up the entire Paul Proteus archive today. The entire Paul Proteus archive library is currently available at BitChute if you're curious. And I lost 4 subs, so I'm down to 197 there. I am, however, the upside on this is that I am now within, what is it, 16 or 16 of surpassing my original YouTube total on the combined mode. So yeah, let that countdown begin in earnest. Not much else to report. I might be moving. At least I might be moving for work anyway. Back to the Bow Valley here very shortly, like within about a week or two. If I do, then the date of the show might end up getting moved as well. Keep in mind, I won't be doing the same amount of hours, but I mean, at least I will be working somewhere where it's stable, and I will know how many hours per week I've got, and I can plan accordingly, which is something that I currently can't do right now. In fact, I had to turn down work to do this show today. Also, I am at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, and TLB Talks. So the topics for tonight, they are, and one of them might end up changing here, because no, we won't. No, I will add in what Trump did this week, and that will be on 448. Topic number 1, did Israel trick the U.S. into getting involved in this conflict in Iran? There's some very suspicious stuff around that. Topic number 2, Canadian government new digital tax prompts serious response from the Trump administration. Then we have the Hollywood section. 3A, to nobody's surprise, the Ironheart series is tanking with the usual blame game commencing. And B, Pixar's Elio marks the second major tanking for them. And it's even worse than Strange World, and Strange World really hit the pavement hard, like cratered hard. Topic number 4, YouTube shoots itself in the foot again, this time by openly promoting AI content. Topic number 5, City of New York Democrat Party nominates communist Muslims Zohan Mandami as their mayoral candidate. Yeah, I had to bring that one up. And then we're going to finish off with some manosphere content. Spate of articles come out concerned about men not wanting to get married. However, Not one of them had the nerve. Not one of them actually had the nerve to say the word MGTOW. That's right, folks. MGTOW, the word that apparently has so much power that even heads of state won't use it. Which is saying something. Actually, that's saying quite a bit. So, without any further ado, let's just get into topic number one here. Hold on a second. I'm just going to timestamp topic number one. Okay, I am. I mean, that's. I'll be straight up with you, man. And I first of all, and what I redacted when they talked about this, redacted also had to point this out in spades too. Redacted was critical of the Israeli government and not the Jews as a collective, which is a big, big problem because, I mean, yeah, it's like there are Jews on both sides of this line. And far too often, when I look at social media, I see people blaming the Jews. And it's like, well, no, it's not all of them. And no, they're not all in on it. But the question that comes up is, did Israel trick the U.S. into trick the U.S. into getting into its conflict with Iran? That is a very legit question, and I think that's probably a legit question, mostly because there's a track record now of the Israeli government doing this. And I mean, if even when, for instance, when Trump released those documents about the Kennedy assassination, there was apparently the Israeli government was behind that. The situation at the Gaza Strip, there was some I'm almost going to say there was some 9/11-ish kind of qualities about that event that they could look very suspicious, that the Israelis just like knowingly let Hamas storm into Israel. You've also got the odd number of Israeli intelligence people that got sent home after 9/11. You mean I could go on and on and on and on and on. Now, in this particular situation, it's entirely possible that they may have fed Donald Trump incorrect information. I'm going to point out too that Israel, Israel has also, and I remember this because I've seen a couple documentaries on this. If the U.S. government is not able, and this specifically happened in El Salvador back in the 80s, if the U.S. government is not able to send in like active like combat trainers and whatever into a region, they will sublet that to the Israeli government, and the Israelis will be quite happy to do it for them. So the issue here is that there's enough evidence out there to suggest that the Israelis may have fed Trump. And keep in mind, Trump's daughter, not Lara, the really pretty one. I can't remember her name. She's married to a Jew. I'm going to point out, and no, and because I've seen this before. No, Trump did not fucking sell his daughter to the fucking Jews. No, I'm serious.
I knew he was gonna say that though. I knew, because like I've heard that too. I was like, when you mentioned her marrying a Jew, I was like, oh no, this is coming. I know.
Yeah. Oh no. I've seen that on multiple occasions. Oh, he sold. It's like, if the Israelis were, I mean, are there Jews definitely doing scazy? Are there definitely people in the Israeli government? Are there Jews that look no further than George Soros? Does that mean that every single Jew that you encounter is in on it? Because I mean, first of all, if you have that type of mentality, that literally is straight out of Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
That is like literally and figuratively straight out of Mein Kampf. Because I remember I actually went and listened to Mein Kampf because I just wanted to know what the fuck Hitler's problem was with the Jews. So you want to find out, you go to the source, and I did. Once upon a time, even as late as 2015, you could actually listen to the entirety of Mein Kampf on YouTube. It was completely and totally posted up at YouTube. You could listen to the whole thing. Um, no word of a lie there. Yeah, the what it more or less boils down to is the Israeli government was feeding Trump specific information to give Trump the idea that that there was there that Iran was going to do this sort of thing. The only thing is, though, is with consistency, when Iran gets pressed on this, they typically tend to back down. And I mean, the inventor of game theory actually did a full analysis of the Israeli government. This was several years ago, and there does not, in his opinion, there just does not like it's a possibility, but he rated it at probably about less than 20%, and it may have changed in the decade or two, in the decades since he did this study, but there just did not. He said there just does not appear to be enough political will in Iran to use a nuclear weapon. Um, Again, there was a lot of people who disagreed with that, but it's like, this guy, and I wish I could. The inventor of game theory. I'm gonna have to like take a look at this. I'm gonna have to remember who the hell that guy was. Let me just Google it for a second here. Unless you get to it first, Roger.
I don't think I'm going to get to it. I just now able to get my glasses and get me a shirt because it's starting to get a little cold in here.
Oh, it was 25, 23 today. It's still quite warm. I'm sitting right by an open window, and it's still actually the sun just sort of went down, and Oscar von Neumann and Ego Mortens. What the hell was this? Game theory. John von Neumann. There's a modern guy on it. I can't remember what his name is. But yeah, it's a combat. It's the closest you're going to get to um, actual psychohistory. And he just basically said like there's just not enough national will to actually start a third world war by using a nuke would be the absolute height of insanity, and there's just not the will to do it in Iran. Um, However, they did target the nuclear. He again, they probably had a situation. Yeah, they probably all sat down in the situation room in the White House and decided, well, no, we really can't take a chance on them developing a nuclear weapon, and especially with a Muslim country, since Pakistan already has them, and Pakistan is viciously unstable. So they decided to take the nuclear program out. Did they stop it? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But they did. They at the very least, they definitely slowed it down a bunch. The mainstream media was saying that it had no effect at all. But then again, you know what? When we start talking about the mainstream media, their credibility is going like really, really, really badly. And, I actually had to deal with a mainstream article just before I came on here, done by, I don't know who runs the CTV's Twitter account, but the person is just nothing but a blatant propagandist. But yeah, would, here's what it boils down with me. Would the Israelis do something like this to the U.S. government to manipulate them into staying involved in the Middle East? Yes, because they've had a track record for doing it before. I don't think Israel's hands are completely clean when it comes to what happened with Gaza on October the 7th. Although, again, I would also point out that Iran is not completely clean either. Iran, there is apparently some very strong evidence that Iran was the one funding a lot of the protests in Western Europe and the United States and Canada, a lot of the anti Israel, pro Hamas protests that were occurring all over North America that Trump cracked down on. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that they were the ones behind this. So yeah, Iran is not complete. And by the way, Iran is still a theocratic state. So I mean, they're not completely innocent either, right? Is it possible that there's a now fundamentalist faction inside the Iranian government that is actively pushing this? Yeah, it's possible. Uh, this looks like it, based upon what I've seen so far. This looks more like two countries posturing and saber rattling, but neither one of them really wants to get into it because, you know, once one or two countries start to go in the Middle East, the whole thing will turn into a powder keg really, really quickly. So, but yeah, the days when I would just, by the way, this is aimed at the Israeli government and not the people of Israel. The days when I would just simply give the Israeli government the benefit of the doubt when it comes to stuff like this, those days are gone. There's just been too much skivvy shit that the Israeli government has done over the years for me to just sort of like just write it off and just move on, right? Uh for the people who see a Jew behind every fucking blade of grass, though, like seriously, fuck off with that shit. Yeah, there's Jews that are definitely involved, but to say that every single person is a Jew and to claim that the Jews were like literally behind every goddamn bad thing that's ever happened is just the absolute height of stupidity. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Hold on, am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, it's like I was on a show the other day, and everybody was talking about, well, it might have been my show actually, Mark and them, but they were talking about how Israel's uh, uh, I don't know what they call him, the one that's in charge, but he's voted in by a Senate that is supposed to and he chooses who's supposed to be on the people who vote um, for the laws and everything in Iran, and then freaking after I was done with that episode, I went and I checked it out myself, and I found out that Israel isn't even much better, even though they're a parliamentary system. Freaking the people who vote the president, which would be Netanyahu, who the people who vote him in is the freaking parliament. So they don't actually have elections where freaking the people go to the voting registers to even vote who's going to be that person. It's their parliament. That would be like freaking Congress for us voting who's going to be president instead of there being voting booths. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I guess the people vote the parliament in, and then the parliament decides who the president or the chief of state is going to be in Israel. So that was one thing that was interesting to me. I didn't notice that, and like I'm getting sick of this whole thing too about listening to people talk about how freaking it is this evil Jewish government and everything that's involved. But I do have to admit, they have been doing some pretty dirty shit. Um, When it comes to the Jews, though, the one thing that I have a problem more with is here in the United States, it's APEC. Um, I think that that's more corrupt than the actual Jewish state is
Oh,
because,
the Anti Defamation League as well.
mm, well, the APAC, a lot of people don't even know it, but APAC is probably the most powerfulest political group in the world. Here in the United States, if you're a senator or you're a congressman, um, you don't step out of line with APAC, because if you step out of line with APAC, you'll never hold an office again in your life. You might be able to be the mayor of some small town or something, but that's about it. These are people who are not only Jewish, but they're also Judeo-Christian, and it's a monopoly to where they can control the power here in the United States, and at the same time be able to. What they do is they take advantage of the state of Israel so that they can freaking get crap loads of money from the United States, so that they can lobby what laws they want in place, and things of that nature. And usually none of the money that they get or the power that they have actually involves Israel whatsoever. You know, it's just a power play basically. Um, that's the biggest threat I think that we have here in the United States, um, most most likely in the world too. So that, but that's the thing that I have an issue with. And like, when it comes to Trump, and if he was tricked by the people in Israel, I don't think it was that. I think that Netanyahu was actually collaborating with Trump before Trump sent in the bombers, because right after he did the bombing, he did a State of the Union and he walked out and gave a speech, and he thanked Netanyahu for working with him in his or their efforts. Basically, is what he said. So, what I got from that was the fact that Netanyahu sent their missiles over first, and then after they sent their missiles over, that's when Trump went in with the bombers and bombed the the supposedly hit all of the nuclear power plants. Another thing I want to mention too is I think that people have a short-term memory, because I remember there being UN personnel going into Iran to do inspections on nuclear facilities back, heck, all the way into 2010 at least. I believe the United States even sent money over to them to help support them in their efforts. And that's why a lot of the conservatives here in the United States got pissed off about. That was during the time that Hillary Clinton was head of uh, uh, what was it? Head of the state. She was
State Department, yeah.
yeah, she was in charge
The
of state.
Secretary of State.
Yeah, Secretary of State.
Yes.
I think she even went over there with the freaking inspectors at one point and shook their hand and stuff. So I mean, I don't get where everybody says they're preventing them from having nuclear capabilities. I remember a while back they had nuclear capabilities. It was Iran and Pakistan that had nuclear capabilities, and India. So I don't know where all that bullshit came from, because that's been general knowledge for quite some time now. You know. Um, That's all I got on that for now, until you say something to get me excited.
I don't feel like getting you that excited. There will be no discussions about Sarah Rearson and Gimp suits tonight.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, again, I can't remember what the name of this professor was, but he did a full fledged study using game theory, and yeah, game theory is a very. If I was going to go back to university, if I ever went back to university to study something, I would go back. That is what I would go and take get. I would go get a. It's a very specialized form of social science, but it uses hard data to come up with its conclusions. It doesn't use, because a lot of the social sciences use data that can't be replicated or is of very suspicious origin. Like, for instance, one of the big ones that that gets quoted quite a bit, that ends up having, like, when you look at it, it actually has really um flawed methodology. In fact, such flawed methodology that they actually even refuse to, which immediately kind of suggests to me that it was a junk science. The Ken McKenzie study,
Mm-hmm.
that one is that, because that one gets quoted quite frequently, and it paid, like, they won't, like, the authors of the McKenzie study won't release the numbers on that one, which I find very, very, very suspicious. But yeah, that's really all I got to say on this. Yeah, Trump. Unfortunately, I ran out of space. We will talk about the week Trump had next week. Because Trump definitely. I mean, when even CNN and MSNBC have to basically suck it up and admit that Trump had a good week, yeah, you pretty much have to admit that Trump had a good week. And yeah, it was a good week for Trump. Unfortunately, I ran out of slots to put that in for today, so that will be next week. But yeah, we are now going to move on to the next topic here, which is. Hold on a second. I got to get back to my. Oh, yeah. Okay. This one. Hold on a second here. Oh, wait. Canada brought in something otherwise known as, or is in the process of informing something called a digital tax. Now, in Canada, what this is apparently what Carney, well, not necessarily Carney, but the assholes that are supporting Carney are apparently trying to do with this digital tax is they're basically trying to stymie um, outside. They're trying to stymie outside or foreign sources for news and information inside Canada. Because remember what I was telling you about how the mainstream media is just total propagandist rag. I mean, CBC is so bad that they actually, like, Elon Musk succeeded in running them off of Twitter. Uh, CTV does post up at Twitter, but the nothing I see from CTV at Twitter, everything is just propaganda. Like, they don't actually seem to be bothering to do any type of reporting. I haven't. Global is a little bit better, but they're not much, and I don't see a lot of stuff from Global TV being put, which is the third big news network in Canada. I don't see Global posting up very much on social media at all anymore. I'm going to have to imagine. Yep, they're still there. They're still around, but they don't post up very much. Um, most of their stuff just seems to be, in terms of what they post up, is just cut and paste. They don't usually engage in propaganda, so they're not as inflammatory as, say, CBC or CTV is. But yeah, everything that a lot of stuff in Canada, and it's like the mainstream media lies so much, so frequently, so often in Canada that you're like, you know, you literally do have to get your information. Like a lot of the information that I tend to get, sometimes I get like, you just happen to get like, that's why I follow Redacted. Not because I'm a big fan of Redacted per se. It's because Redacted is one of the news outlets that will actually report on Canada on a regular basis. Like
Mhm.
Redacted is really good for doing that. And what this digital tax is, and what's got everybody annoyed, and this is what got Trump angry, is the fact that, I mean, non in particular, non-Canadian sources of digital content, if they want to do business in Canada, have to pay what basically amounts to a 3% tariff or a 3% tax. And of course, Twitter, YouTube, and all the social media companies got really annoyed and really pissed off about this, and for good reason. And Trump like literally found out what Carney was doing, and like he immediately shut down the trade negotiations that were occurring with Canada. I can't really say I'm surprised. Trudeau he's also apparently, although he's not doing it this time around, uh, but he's also apparently at some point going to bring back the version of the Online Harms Act, which was basically which, it was going to be the Canadian government's attempt to justify the use of law of the state to shut down media sources that were critical of the government. It would give
Mhm.
them license to do it under the auspices of hate speech. And of course, right, when you actually take a look at what was defined as hate speech in the bill, it was spelled out in such a unclear and vague way that you really couldn't figure out, like, I mean, it was being deliberately left open to interpretation. Trump had a very good week this week, but I mean, I brought this one in as a topic because it's like, well, I live in Canada, and Carney has a much different style than Trudeau. Like Trudeau would get snarky and arrogant. And by the way, Justin Trudeau's dad, Pierre, was also like this. Pierre, though, had a little bit more, had a much better grasp on the apparatus of state, and didn't pull anywhere near the same amount of stuff bullshit that Justin did. Carney is more of just kind of sit back and just let events play out, and only, in a way, he's even more of a puppet than Justin Trudeau is, because he acts more like a puppet. He doesn't respond. For instance, he's got a legit separation like, I live in Alberta, and he's got a legit separation issue happening here. The last poll that I saw for separation, last poll that was recently put out in Alberta, suggests that. And by the way, we're only, what is it? Not even 2 months out from the election, and support for separation is returned from, yeah, it's only about 35-40%, and now it's gone from that to like a coin flip. And that's only after just 2 months. And the issue here, and I suspect this is probably one of the reasons why he brought this in, because it's the one thing that he could do to potentially stymie third party news sorts and websites from operating in Canada and preventing them from. Basically, it's an attempt by the Canadian government to try to get some type of control of the alt media. Because, like, in particular in Alberta, like, the alt media is just absolutely killing them. And they have to start to do something. And this is one of the things that they absolutely had to start doing. And, yep. And unfortunately, it's the Trump administration. The rules are a little bit different. And yeah, Trump just basically went, oh, okay, you want to institute a tax? Okay, then we'll just break off negotiations. So now Carney has to go, or the appropriate minister has to go down to DC, and he has to go and talk to Donald Trump again, and they have to get the whole thing started. And of course, Canada, the Canadian government, once again gets to play the victim. And I got to point this out: the Canadian government is not the victim here, but the issue going on. And I don't think Trump pulled out of the trade negotiations out of some altruistic thing to help the people of Canada. Uh, but in a way, it does help them, because it helped us here, because it's like, yeah, they are really, they're in Canada, they are really desperate to try and gain control of the information narrative, because they just don't have any control over it at all right now. And the fact that the Canadian government had to be so desperate as to scuttle trade negotiations with Trump just to gain some type of control of the information inside their borders tells us how fucked up the situation in Canada is right now. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Oh, right. Yeah. Whenever, well, I heard this first from my brother, and he's real excited about it. He thinks that they're going to cut off all connection between Canada and the United States when it comes to the internet, kind of like how Donald Trump made threats about TikTok. And for me, I see that as probably one of the reasons why your guys' prime minister did that, because it's a tactic. You got to remember that this guy is actually a businessman from England, and he's thinking nothing but money. You know, that's the way I see it. And he's going to try to negotiate a deal. He understands that whole way of thinking, just like Donald Trump does. So you're going to see a lot of tactics being played on the economic side of things. It's going to be you do this for me, I do that for you, and that's basically how it's going to work out with these two. I don't see it as being anything that's going to benefit the United States or Canada. To be honest, it's just gonna be a matter of trade, and you do this for me, I do this for you. I personally think that your guys' prime minister, I believe that's what they call him, I believe that he was put in office as a shill for the freaking new king of England, so that they can start pushing their propaganda through. Because I've been kind of rethinking it after this tax thing, about how a lot of this subversion is coming into the United States. And I think that what is being done is it's being pushed onto Canada and then pushed from Canada down into the United States. When you get a lot of the things that are happening in England compared to what's happening here and then in New Zealand, you can clearly see that a lot of brainwashing propaganda is being pushed onto everybody, and things are just acting, or people are just acting all crazy, and they're out of touch with what's right, normal, and what's right, and they just don't know the true from the false, and this stuff is being done on purpose, and somebody's behind it, and I'm starting to really believe that England has something to do with that. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's there's definitely there's definitely some globalists behind this. Yeah, there's just like no. I again, Carney's got a different style than Trudeau. He's not as abrasive, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, like I haven't seen Carney actually address anything at all. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
makes public appearances. Like he'll go do speeches and whatnot, but he doesn't like. I mean, you never hear him talk or mention anything. And I mean, I gotta point out something, man. Like the separation situation in Alberta is fucking serious, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if Alberta leaves and it's gone from being something that was sort of like, yeah, no, they haven't got the numbers, and now it's gone in just 2 or 3 months. It's gone from that to an actual coin flip right now as to whether Alberta's leaving or not. And we've still got, and it's a referendum could happen as early as December, right? It's probably more likely going to happen in 2026. It's deadly serious, and I mean, at this point in time, if I was forced to take the vote based upon how I'm seeing Mark Carney act and how I've seen the Canadian government act for most of the last 10 years or so, like I would absolutely go like, yeah, like separation is not something that I would like. There's is not a massive panacea. I think what would probably be the best option would be for Alberta to either become a state or a territory of the US, because I mean, like my first big concern is that, I mean, if Alberta separates, the Chinese are going to come in here like white on rice and try
Mm-hmm.
to throw their weight around, and which is exactly what they've been doing in Vancouver. The Canadian government is not going to do Canadian. Well, actually, when Trudeau was around, the Canadian government wasn't doing anything. When Carney does not appear to want to do anything either, so that pretty much forces Alberta. And I mean, I'm not actually against it, because I mean, if I were to somehow, if Alberta were to suddenly become a territory, I would suddenly have the ability to go and work in the U.S. legally, and I would absolutely be taking advantage of that. I wouldn't have to worry about jumping through hoops with immigration and stuff like that. Like that would be something that I would have to seriously consider. Um, yeah. This is the reason. I don't think the reason why he brought this tax in was to piss Trump off, although there's probably a little bit of that as well, which also kind of begs the question as to why Carney, what type of an individual Carney is. Like he might just be one of those. He might be more in the vein of Obama, one of those silently vindictive motherfuckers. Because yeah, Obama could be really. I mean, I saw this when he was the president. He was a silently vindictive motherfucker. Like Carney might be more in the vein of Obama with the less charisma, and but I mean, at the same time, like every move that he makes just drives Alberta further and further out. And I was discussing this with Rearson last a couple of days ago. It's almost as though he's agreed to basically give Alberta to the U.S. And I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be complaining if that happened. I mean, I would prefer to stay in Canada, and I'd rather see Canada stay as a whole country. But the way this government is acting, I can't sanction if Alberta leaves. Like, I would have to sanction like Alberta separating just from the way this government's been acting. And that's all I got to say on this, unless you have something else to add.
No, I mean Alberta really doesn't inspire me. I uh, I hate Heartland.
Okay, I don't like Heartland either, but Heartland, that TV series, was just an absolute piece of crap.
Well,
Um,
I
I,
mean, I have to make a point to say that when I'm having a conversation with a Canadian because Canadians need to boycott Heartland.
it's a CBC production, and
Get to it. See, I'm in the
need I
United
say
States.
more?
I'm in the United States, dude. I can't do nothing. I don't have Canadian rights. But you are Canadian. Somebody needs to step up and say, "Man, this has to go." How many years do they have to freaking continue? These girls started when they were teenagers and they're middle-aged women now, and you guys just keep letting it go.
I was a little bit again. I have not seen. I have seen. The only time I've actually seen Heartland was this one time when I went and visited this one person, and this one person actually watched the show. That's the only time I've seen it. I got to point out something that CBC back when CBC was actually a legit network that actually tried to entertain people. There was a show when I grew up as a kid called The Beachcombers, and it ran like, I think, almost 2 decades. So yeah, if they get a show that's got the ratings, like, they will just stay with it, and they will stay with it and stay with it and stay with it until the actors, like, that's what literally happened. I think finally just Bruno Gerussi finally just got too old, and all the actors just got too old. Because I mean, there was one person. It was like you literally saw this one kid on the show, like you saw them grow from like a small kid to an adult on the show. Yeah, so
It's
yeah, I
disgusting.
can. I haven't seen that much of Heartland to really say, and I can't really say that I particularly care to see Heartland in any form or fashion. I don't know why you would
Well,
subject
see,
yourself to it unless you're trying to punish yourself for some
no,
misdeed.
I've got a senile old mom that I have to take care of, and she loves to watch Heartland over and over and over again. Like she doesn't realize she's seen it like 550 times.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, I'm sorry for it. Maybe that's the reason why she's going senile, is because she's watching Heartland.
Probably. If I can get her off Heartland and cigarettes, everything will be good.
Exactly. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. We're actually moving pretty quick tonight here. We might actually be done. Well, that's what happens when things get moving. Yeah, we're going to move on to the Hollywood section here. So hold on a second. Let me just take a look. All right. All right. So this next section we might be going on for a while here, because this is kind of like my bailiwick here, which is the Hollywood stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it, because it's just two more failures here. One of them you could see coming from 100 miles away, and the other one you know could actually spell the death knell for one of the another Disney studio that's gonna start tanking. But it will we'll start out. And by the way, Ironheart is also controlled and is part of the MCU, which is also controlled by Disney. Now they were talking about Ironheart 2 or 3 years ago, and for whatever reason, they chose not to actually go out and actually make the series and whatnot until now. Uh, it's basically Iron Man, except he's replaced by a. Of course, she's also bisexual.
Well, of course.
teenage black girl who ever just happens to be bisexual, and apparently her assistant is who is a white guy, which is the reverse of what happened with Iron Man. It Apparently he's not a weak independent individual, but again, right, like they do a lot of, instead of just, again, they could have just concentrated on telling the story and not and just basically had Riri Williams just basically be a a girl who just happened to be bisexual in that way. But no, they had to go in with the social justice posturing. They had to go in with the with all the woke stuff. They had to just pour that in, even though, you know, it hasn't worked in the last few years, and it was very, except I think there's, and of course they try to twist this around. They what wokesters will do, because I've actually challenged people on this, is like, name a woke TV series or movie that's done well, and then they come up with all of this stuff, and it's like, that's not woke, that's not this, and they add stuff in that qualifies. In fact, the only two movies that have actually done well with woke content were Captain Marvel and Barbie. The only TV series that I think that has actually done well with the woke stuff was A Handmaid's Tale. And A Handmaid's Tale was successful because they concentrated on the storytelling. And, you know, even though they definitely, there's all the white men in the TV series are bad and evil and that sort of thing, and all the good people are people of color and that sort of thing. You didn't notice it because the story was actually fairly decent, from what I'm saying. Although feminists just grabbed onto that TV series like it was going out of style. Um, you know, it's like, again, right? These people, when I deal with them, they live in their own little bubble, right? And it's like, you could go, and I thought, yeah, and you could go to them and you could show them case after case after case after case after case where get woke, go broke turns out to be real, and they will, and you could actually, like, this is straight out of the Bezmenov handbook, if you could call it the Bezmenov handbook, where you can, like, physically show them that it doesn't work, and they will ignore you, and they will just go through and go ahead and do it anyway, right? There's a group, and I think you know which group we're talking about, that acts that way, that just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expects different results. And
Oh
we know
yeah.
what happens to that group: jails, institutions, and death, right?
Oh my.
I'm not saying it's going to happen with the studio execs, but I mean, you know, uh, Amazon finally decided that they had to get rid of the head of their studio, because I mean, it was very, in particular with Warhammer 40K. If they had tried to wokeify for Warhammer 40K, it would have, that series, especially when you consider that Warhammer 40K was going to be expensive as hell to produce in the first place, even as either a movie or a TV series. Um, you know, it was, wokeifying that series would absolutely have killed it. And the situation is pretty similar, and they also completely bought out the Broccolis. And of course, when we were talking about this just a couple weeks ago, about how they were going to bring in a black actor to play James Bond 007, and of course they picked the completely wrong actor to do it. Again, But I mean, you're seeing this over, and when I get to the next one, it's just the same thing. And what's going to happen here is that you're starting to see a situation where I don't know how many more hits Lucasfilm and Pixar and the Marvel Cinematic Universe are going to take before they just basically go tits up. You know, they just like I mean it's becoming relatively, and again, BlackRock does not have, or I think it's Vanguard that I think has most of the investment in Hollywood, but the BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street don't have the money to throw around like they used to, right? So they can't keep artificially propping everything up because they're starting to get people are starting to go after them specifically now that they know who it is that's behind this. So it's like um you know another hit for the MCU, but the MCU keeps chugging along. However, the other company involved here, and this is the same company that did Strange World. I believe Strange World was last year. Strange World lost, I think, somewhere between $200 and $300 million. They came out with a new show TV, new movie called Elio, and they threw $200 million into this movie, and it only grossed, I think, well, I mean, domestically, it only grossed about $21 million, and it may have grossed a little bit more overseas. But it's like it will be lucky if it gets back half of its production budget. That's how bad it is. I mean, the show could lose anywhere between 300 and 400 mil if they went with a modest marketing budget. And even if they went with a modest marketing budget, they're still going to lose somewhere between $200 and $300 million. If they went with the full marketing budget, then then you're talking about losses between 300 and 400 million, which means that Pixar has lost half just on its own in the last 12 months, has lost $500 million. $500 million, like $500 million. And I can't think of any kind of a studio. Even that's some types of losses that I don't even think Disney can stomach for much longer, because Disney took a massive hit on Snow White on top of what they're taking with so you throw in what happened with Snow White recently, and then you throw in what happened with this movie, and you throw in what the potential amount of money that they've lost on Ironheart. Yeah, I don't know whether Disney can continue. Don't ask me how Disney's going to keep doing it, but Disney can obviously not continue to operate in this situation. Pixar, like it's a, I don't know how the hell Disney is even able to hang on to Lucasfilm and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Pixar. Like at some point in the next 12 to 24 months, they're probably going to have to sell one or all of those properties off, just to get back on speed. For instance, one of the things, like everybody keeps saying that Kathleen Kennedy is going from Lucasfilm, but apparently Kathleen Kennedy has got it in her head that she wants to leave on a winning note. So there's going to be another there's going to be another Lucasfilm movie that comes out, and if it even comes close to making a profit, she's going to declare that a victory. She's going to declare her tenure a success. Then she's going to leave. The reason why she hasn't left so far is because she's obviously got some very powerful Hollywood friends that are propping her up artificially. but she wants to leave on a winning note, even if that winning note is nothing but AstroTurf. Um, but yeah, like I got to point out that both Pixar and the MCU are Disney properties, and they went. I don't. Here's the ironic part about it. Apparently, Elio is not that bad of a movie, but and they didn't go overboard on the wokeism with Elio like they did with Ironheart, but it doesn't matter. Disney has just simply stuck its nose into too much, and they've interfered in too much, and they've come out with so much woke slop over the past few years. And what, it's finally catching up to them, and like people are just saying it's just another Disney movie, and they're just not going to go see it anymore. And again, this also happened with the ballerina, right? The ballerina was not a bad movie. But unfortunately, the marketing department decided to market that movie off as a girl boss show, and it wasn't a girl boss show. Like there was an actual, genuine, good backstory as to why the character was the way she was, and it was believable. But people didn't go see the movie because girl boss, right? And it's just it wasn't a bad movie. Apparently Elio is not that bad, but the same thing is happening here. It's sort of like people go, oh yeah, we know what's coming, so they just decided to not go see it just because of who's involved in it. And when you're at the point where your people are not going to see your stuff just because you're involved in it, or the people or the executives that you have involved that you've hired to run those companies are involved in it, and people are just like taking a look at that and just deciding it's like, no, I don't want to go see that stuff, right? uh you're in trouble, because at that point, and this is the same thing that's happened with Lucasfilm, right? They've lost the goodwill that they built up with their fans over the years. And once you've lost that, it would require almost a complete rebuilding of the company from the ground up in order to do that. And in order to do that, you literally, because I mean, again, right, James O'Keefe did that expose on Disney and what Disney was involved in. And, you know, even if you wanted to make those changes in those companies, I mean, I don't think you'd be able to, because somebody would get pissed off or upset or angry and would go to somebody at Disney, and that person at Disney would step in and interfere with your attempts to rebuild the company. You know, just as a prime example of this was when they had the stockholder meeting. I think that was last year, where Bob Iger publicly announcing, yeah, okay, we're done with woke, and oh, by the way, the Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie is a woman, and Sue Reed in that movie is a total girl boss, right? That's apparently the rumors that out there. So that one's not going to go. That one doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere either. And then just keep doing this, and sort of, and you try to make the changes that are necessary. Because I mean, you know, if you make a good movie that's entertaining, people will go see it. But and I gotta keep saying this, unfortunately, what happens when it comes to the movies now is that people are just seeing that it's Pixar or it's Disney or it's the MCU, and they're just like, no, not interested. And of course, specifically when it comes to Ironheart, right? Oh, they're not going to go see Ironheart because it's a black woman, and it's like, no, I'm not going. I'm not watching Ironheart because you decided that you wanted to preach social justice as opposed to actually telling the story. And by the way, you want to get into good storytelling. The hell is the name of that?
You need to remember the name before you make the comment. You just had a blunt brain fart, didn't you?
It's the one with the vaults. Fallout. Fallout,
Wow,
Fallout,
there you go.
Fallout, Fallout is apparently a very good TV series. Even though it's got a female lead. So, and by the way, apparently I don't know what the name of the lead in that one is, but apparently she's not white either. And there's a lot of wokeism in that movie too, and the way they cast things. But people are going to go see that movie, are going to go see that TV series. So why did they go see that TV series and they didn't go see Ironheart? Because, and by the way, I downloaded the first season of Fallout. It's sitting on my hard drive right now. The reason why people are going to go see that movie is because they concentrate on telling the story, you know, as opposed to getting into social justice. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, this one's going to be pretty easy for me. When it comes to Elo and the whole thing you said about it flopping like a Strange World, they're both kid shows. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, you take kids to watch that and you don't worry about the box office or anything of that nature because that's all it is for kids to go and watch. And when you take them, you don't want anything to be all woke or anything of that nature. You don't want anything that's got something political, or I don't even call that shit political in my personal opinion, but it doesn't belong in politics. But more or less, it doesn't belong on the TV screen or the movie screen for little kids to watch. When it comes to Ironheart, I I thought it was a joke when they came out with it. What was it, back in 2020 or something like that? Then they turn around and they wanted to make the Iron Man series that it came off of like it was uh, the second edition. You know what I mean? It wasn't the second edition. I remember Ironheart back when I was a kid. Shit, you know that's a, I hate when they do that shit. You know what I mean? Like just because they come out with a new series, they gotta make it like the second edition of the 45th freaking version of freaking Iron Man. And just yeah, I didn't even like her back when she came out on the Iron Man comics. I thought that was a crap. It just I thought yeah, I wasn't into it. So I mean, and Elio, I mean, what the hell is that even about? You know, come on, dude, seriously. Like that, it reminds me of like some little snot booger freaking creature that it's worse than freaking. Well, I don't even know what it's worse than. It's like a freaking a monster booger, some a snot that fell out of somebody or some monster's nose and it grew up, got legs. It's really weird shit. Then of course you have the kid, right? He's the funny guy. So that's all I got.
Yeah, man, it's and I keep saying this, and it's like, and they are aware that this term exists. They are aware of the concept of get woke, go broke. But I mean, I have to start quoting Bezmenov here. It's like even when you and I've had to do this a number of times over the years, and usually when I do it, I will just simply present them the evidence, and I will just go, yeah, you can say whatever the fuck it is you want to say after I posted up the evidence. Unless you have some type of way of refuting what I just posted up, you just like anything you have to fucking say that's based on emotion, you lost the argument. I One of the worst examples that I came up with was, and this happened during COVID. Um, I kept track of the numbers, and I kept track of the numbers because of what was going on with all of the unnecessary fear in propaganda pushed around it, especially once the vaccines came out. And I got to point out here that Trump came out in support of the vaccine, just in case anybody forgets about that little detail. But I would see these people walking down the street, and there was one dude, and I swear to God, man, it was like I took one look at him, and you're fucking, you still see them around too. Like I seen one dude, right, double masked in a fucking face mask, walking around on the street here about a week or so ago, and it's like, yeah, their brains are permanently broken, right? And there was this one case where this one guy, and it's like he had his kids at an airport in a full fucking hazmat suit. All four of them, right? And the comments section in that particular thing was like, well, we'll know that these people survive. And it was like, I mean, I had to go. It's like, yeah, that COVID doesn't usually go. It goes after the older folks, diabetics, and people with they have breathing difficulties. It doesn't go after kids, right? And there are people on there saying, well, these people are going to survive. And it's like, well, even if you get COVID, unless you have a pre-existing condition, right? Like your chances of surviving are like 99.996 or something, 99.96%, you know? And there were two people on that thread that kept arguing with me about it. So what I had to do is I had to go to the province of Alberta, and I had to bring up their health stats. And then I had to go to Google and Google up the Google stats, and I had to put them both in there. And like this one dude, like literally started screaming at me and telling me that those were bullshit stats. And it was like, yeah, dude, I got those stats directly from the New York Times that got them directly from the CDC. So you want to keep arguing, you can, but you really need to shut the fuck up. And he just went silent after that. But I mean, it was like same thing with some of the sites that I had to deal with when I was talking about like at its absolute worst, like the acute care beds for COVID. Like at one point they were down to like about 5 or 6, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it just started getting to the point where they might be at capacity when it came to critical care. And you had people on threads going, "Oh, the hospitals are being overwhelmed," and blah blah blah. And it's like, I would bring out the stats and I would physically show them the stats, and they would still keep arguing. And it's like, dude, these are direct medical stats from official fucking sources. And again, right? I mean, the concept of official sources has been kind of degraded over the past few years, but I mean, it still counts. And and these people would just keep arguing, and it was like it. I actually did lose it with one of them because the guy just kept arguing beyond the point of absolute fucking stupidity. And it was like, and I encountered that, and I've encountered that when it comes to wokeness in shows. You know, I've got with everything, and it's like, when you're dealing with people that want to just keep in their lane and just don't want to keep going regardless of whatever you tell them. And again, right, we both know that there's a particular group of people that are like that, right? And we encounter them all, or we encounter them all the time, right? And in another, I look at the path that those people go on, and I look at the path that these people are doing, and it's like I'm seeing, and it's like what you got to do, and what is happening in Hollywood is that they're literally setting up an alt Hollywood right now, because at some point, like these insane individuals are literally going to run the entire system right into the ground, right? And they've also got the issue of AI on top of that to throw in, which, by the way, we'll be covering YouTube and AI later on tonight. And yeah, the result of the institute the result of this is that you're going to start seeing studios just basically go bankrupt or start selling their assets off, or they're just going to disappear. And like, yeah, like Hollywood is just when Holly if and when Hollywood gets out of this. And I mean, you talk about how I kind of tend to be a little bit optimistic when it comes to this sort of thing.
No, you
In
never optimistic.
terms of the big picture, yeah, but in terms of what I'm seeing in Hollywood right now, I am like,
No,
no, I don't see Hollywood getting through this. I mean, like there will be
I
there is
don't see where you think we've ever said that you were optimistic about this. I've never heard you be optimistic
well,
about it.
I'm sure that we'll get in terms of the big picture. I'm sure that we will eventually get through this. But in terms of what I'm seeing with Hollywood, though,
Yeah.
I I I I don't think it's going to happen. Right, the industry is just going to completely collapse, and which is kind of unfortunate because when I was a kid, this is the industry that I wanted to make my living in. This is the industry I want to do. I wanted to be the next great filmmaker, and now I'm like, yeah, you know what? Internet broadcasting and podcasting is just as good, although it probably won't be happening for me on YouTube, and I am so glad I pulled away from YouTube.
Mhm.
Uh Anyway, unless you have anything more to add, we're going to move on to the next topic.
I just I just enjoy listening to you talk about Hollywood. It just drives me nuts. Like you just get ballistic over it, and when it comes to creating content that's documentary or what filmmaking, you can do it on YouTube. You can do it on Rumble. You can do it anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be on TV. So
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, AI, if you use it properly, it can be a great complement to an original idea if you use it in the correct manner. And when we get to YouTube, I will when we get to the YouTube topic, we'll get more into this. The way it is being used, especially in Hollywood and currently online, and YouTube, by the way, is a big vile user of it. Is pushing this big time. Uh, it's yeah. You know what? It doesn't look good. Well, it definitely doesn't look good for YouTube. I don't necessarily know about Hollywood in general, but if Hollywood, assuming Hollywood does get through this, it's not going to resemble the Hollywood that you and I grew up with. And they're not going to have the soft cultural power that they've had to influence decision making uh, over the last, oh god, almost a century now.
mhm.
I mean, I didn't include him on the list because I mean I wasn't sure how many people were going to show up tonight, and I usually try to limit the topics to like between 5 and 7. But De Niro has just had a massive series of meltdowns this week, and he got called out on it. And it's like, and everybody, like, even people in Hollywood now are like looking at De Niro, and it's just, Robert, just shut the fuck up and act. Like,
Mhm.
nobody wants to listen to your bullshit. Like, seriously, no one wants to listen to your bullshit anymore. Like, you've got Trump derangement syndrome so bad that they're shipping Orange Man bad hand bulb to your fucking mansion by the truckload, and you're probably going through it. No, your other deluded Hollywood friends are probably going through it. Yes, that's right, guys, folks. Orange Man bad hand bulb for the Trump obsessed person that just literally cannot get over 2016. That's right. If he suddenly starts obsessing about Orange Man, just hand him the bottle, tell him to go into the bathroom, and it's like, where's my bed? Where's my bed? Where's my bed? And hopefully he just gets it out of his system, or she gets it out of her system. Also, it makes for a great lubricant for the Fagwar 6969. Just saying, right?
Mhm.
Um, but that's all. That's really all I got to say about it. Unless you have anything more, we're gonna move on.
No, I'm done. I'm not going to comment on Hollywood ever again.
Well, then you're probably not going to be on
No, if I say something, you're going to say something again. And this next one actually is a good topic. So,
Okay, yeah. Again, I will just throw this in. Why do I throw a toss in Hollywood stuff? Because I've worked in the film industry. That's
mhm,
why, right?
you're,
That's why I talk about it, right?
you get excited too, though. That's it.
Yeah,
That's where it's all at for you.
and it's like I'm real. I mean, there was already a lot of issues with Hollywood even before all of this woke stuff kicked in. But in particularly after what happened with Harvey Weinstein,
Hmm.
that's when things really went off the rails with with Hollywood, and it like I mean they seem very determined to take that train and just go right over the cliff with it. And like just like with YouTube, I'm kind of glad that they're not. I'm not on that train anymore. And I'm glad I'm on the internet where I could actually potentially go out and maybe at some point be able to basically just do what I'm doing here for a living, as opposed to having somebody else make a decision for me, that I can work for them and be dependent upon that person for my money. That's my ultimate objective. But anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to the next topic here. Okay, the next topic. And speaking, okay, this one got brought to my attention via Jeremy Hambling over at the Quartering. And I had noticed this. There is one Warhammer content producer who keeps coming up with video, and he's coming out with one Warhammer, and they're like significantly long Warhammer videos, right? Uh, and he keeps coming out with them like every single day, and it's been pointed out that it's AI. He has to be doing, and I start looking at his content a little bit more closely, and yeah, it is AI, right? Like everything is just a little bit too neat and clean, right? Now, I'm going to point out something, right? Like I saw some AI used properly can be a great complement to what it is that you're trying to produce, right? AI can make some very interesting content. Like I saw some AI videos that got posted up at Instagram and Twitter that were actually kind of fun. Like I saw a redneck version of Star Wars. I saw a Lord of the Rings movie series based on Warhammer 40K. Like I saw that stuff, and I even then though I would post it up, and I would post it up because I thought it was kind of fun, right? And there were still people there that going, "Oh, well, that's AI. I don't like that." Sort of like, well, dude, like just get over the fucking fact that it's AI and just enjoy the fucking content, right? Like again, AI used properly can be a great complement to what you're doing, right? It should not be the basis of everything that you're working on, though. AI is also becoming a very, very big issue with Hollywood because apparently what's going on now is that they've been like the studios. And again, Disney, which probably shouldn't come as any big of a surprise. Disney is one of the worst offenders of doing this. They'll hire the actor for like a day or two, and they'll have him do a couple of green screens, and they'll get his biometrics and whatever, and then they'll let him go, and then they will just use that person's likeness in their movies, and they won't pay the actor. And this is becoming a very big issue with in particular the screen actor, the SAG in particular.
Hmm.
Uh, So there's that going on. You've also got the situation, and a lot of people, and I think I've put, yeah, actually, I did cover this. The owner of OnlyFans is looking to sell his shares in OnlyFans, and one of the reasons why he's interested in selling his shares in OnlyFans is because the AI content is getting to the point where people are actually starting to prefer the AI models over the actual porn models. And there's a very good reason. I'm going to post directly from the manosphere about this one. It's because, I mean, when you start dealing, and I know because I've had some back and forth with some people, again, just like with Hollywood, right? Like the porn industry and the film industry, even though they're, and I was told this when I went to Vancouver Film School, right? Like, if you decide to go into the adult industry, that's it. You're working in the adult industry. You're not going to be able to go and work in, you're not going to be able to go and do mainstream, right? You either do one or the other, right? Uh, what what's happening in the adult industry is that, I mean, the AI models are getting more and more realistic, and they're getting to the point where it's like you're even like, I mean, like a couple of years ago, like even a year or so ago, it's like you could look at the AI models and you could tell just from the way the the fake lighting was and the way that the women looked, that they looked a little bit too perfect, right? And the AI models are getting to the point now where they've even got the motion involved. So it's, and the algorithms are getting to the point where, unless you know specifically what to look for, you can sometimes get fooled by some of these AI models into thinking that they're actually real life. And by the way, AI models can that can build themselves around the personality of the individual that is watching the content, as opposed to, say, a real flesh and blood woman who will have limits and will have potential issues and will have political opinions and all sorts of, I think, for instance, there's one particular adult actress, I'm not going to name her. I had to actually stop following her because she would just not, she would like not, she would just like fucking post up about politics non fucking stop. And it's like, I don't give a shit about your fucking politics, right? Like, I don't give a I don't, like, the opinion of an OnlyFans about her politics is not my biggest concern, right? And it's like, you know, like, they will say and do things that will they will piss their audience off. And it's like, you've also, I'm only going with what I've heard, because I've never subscribed to OnlyFans. Uh, Nor have I ever subscribed to any of those dating sites either. The the whole thing with this is the fact that, you know, it's like you've literally had guys commit suicide over this. So, but it hadn't reached it. Like, they could do shorts in terms, and I thought some of the shorts were actually kind of cute and interesting. Apparently some people just got bent right out of fucking shape about it. It's like, yeah, dude, used properly, AI can be a beautiful fucking compliment to what you're doing. But I mean, if you're just going to dismiss something out of hand because it just happens to be AI, like, sorry, man, the problem is you, not the fucking content, right? Because I have seen some very interesting AI content. And if used properly, documentaries and videos that will use AI properly, it can be a great complement to what you're doing. If you do it wrong, and I have seen a lot of times, particularly on YouTube, which is the point of what we're talking about here, right? Uh, if it's done wrong, though, it is really obvious. It is almost like a combo breaker. It like literally just jars you back into reality. Once you're aware that you're looking at an AI video, it's kind of hard to get yourself back into watching it, because it's like once you know that it's there, it's like you can't unsee it. You can't unwatch it, even if the content is decent. And again, I have seen some decent stuff done with AI. The issue here is that YouTube, in its infinite fucking wisdom, has decided to go and shoot itself in the foot again, and has decided that they are going to start promoting AI content over real people. And the reason why they're doing this, and again, I'm sure Roger's got a lot to say about this as well, is it's a straight up money situation, right? Hiring your own people and having them post up AI content, as opposed to, say, having to pay a content producer for their content, is immensely cheaper, right? Now, there's obviously some content that you can't. There's topics that you really can't do that with yet, and Rumble hasn't gone on board with it. They probably will start seeing AI content on Rumble, although hopefully they won't make the same mistake that YouTube does. Uh but again, right, YouTube, for instance, right now, a lot of the AI content seems to be limited to travel blogs and how-to content. They haven't gotten to the point where they're replacing the podcast yet, because again, right, it's a length issue, right? Like the AI has to be able to generate a long enough stream for it to be interesting over, like, say, we've been on air for about an hour and a half right now, so it's really difficult for AI to produce interesting content with a live streamer for an hour and a half, as opposed to, say, 15 or 20 minutes, which is what you usually see a lot of the AI content doing on YouTube. Rather sleazy, rather underhanded. But then again, guys, we are talking YouTube, and I mean, what can I tell you, man? I mean, the if you've been watching this show long enough, and you go back into my content, you will see that I have done story after story after story about YouTube. They The censoring of COVID content, the burying of controversial topics, the way they, like, the most recent thing, and this is the one that really actually did it for me, which is one of the reasons, by the way, why if I see content that I actually like at YouTube, I will like save it and I will repost it up at another site and I will watch it there, as opposed to watching on YouTube. Is, it's like people are so myopic that they just won't go anywhere other than YouTube. But it's sort of like, yeah, the way they were like hardcore, intensely trying to get you to watch ads. Like they were like almost like forcing you to watch the ads. And it was like they were at the point where, you know, at first it was just Google, where if you had a Google account and you tried and you had ad blocker, you couldn't see it. And then, of course, you went over to DuckDuckGo and they forced it into DuckDuckGo, and they went into Brave. And Brave got rid of it and they forced themselves back in again. And you couldn't watch YouTube on Brave without having to deal with them trying to force you to watch ads. And then, of course, I finally had no choice. I had to actually go over and start watching YouTube on Internet Explorer. And even there, you know, they were really hardcore forcing you, trying to force you to watch ads, right? Now, the good news is, folks, is that I just checked out Brave. In fact, I checked out Brave yesterday, and apparently Brave has fixed what YouTube was attempting to do, and you're back to being able to watch shows on Brave and not have to worry about the ads anymore. But the fact that YouTube tried to do that, like they actually were hardcore forcing you to watch the ads. And oh, by the way, the other thing they did is that you used to not have to watch ads on YouTube Premium. Now you have to watch ads on YouTube Premium. I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. And I could just go back through my log, go back through my Red Pill Nation Hangouts, and you'll see example after example after example after example of YouTube just continuously shooting themselves in the foot over this, right? And they're able to do it because they still have a dominant market share. I will point out one other thing about YouTube, though, and this is something that kind of suggests that again, to quote Louis Rossman, they are definitely acting like a company that's going through their couch looking for spare change at this point. One of the things that has also happened with YouTube, and I don't know whether this is an actual fact or not, but when I go looking for it, I have to go onto Brave or I have to go on Opera or whatever to find the proper stats for this, because the market share that YouTube has of the viewing audience right now, they are making a very, very, you have to really go looking for it now. It looks very much like they are attempting to hide those numbers. And if they're at the point where they're having to hide those numbers, just like remember I was talking about the McKinsey study here just a few minutes ago, right? Earlier in the show. The reason why the McKinsey study didn't produce their numbers when they came out with their study was because, if they had tried to come up with the actual numbers for their study and produce their methodology and whatever, then, that would have left them open. So they put out this study, but they didn't reveal their methodology. So it's quote unquote academic research, but it's not really academic research because they never they didn't reveal their methodology with how they got their numbers. So, and if again, you can go back and you can figure out how they did it. And it's like when they go back and they try it, like the numbers don't add up when somebody tries to do it independently. But it's like, it's real. Like, I mean, if YouTube has reached the point where they have to start hiding their numbers, that is not a good sign for YouTube/Google. And again, right, like everything that YouTube has been doing over the past, say, year and a half, 2 years since Susan Wojcicki died, has been in an attempt to bring in more revenue. And this move with AI is another step in that process, because again, with AI, you're restructuring your company so that only the content producers and the mainstream people who are paying for ads get their stuff boosted. You can get your stuff boosted on YouTube, but you have to pay for it, which kind of defeats the reason for actually going on YouTube to try to make a living off of it there in the first place. If you don't do the right content, right? like your stuff isn't going to get boosted. And now they've gone and done this with AI in order to avoid paying the content producers. So it's like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse for them. And like these decisions carry consequences. And one of those consequences is that every time YouTube makes a decision like this, Rumble just gets that much stronger, as does Odyssey, as does BitChute, as does MGTOW TV, as does Brighteon. Like they all just keep getting stronger. And I, for one, am actually quite happy that I am like, I mean, I have a YouTube and I post my content up at YouTube and I will post archive stuff. Like today, for instance, I posted up most of the outstanding Paul Proteus stuff on my YouTube channel. It's not, I didn't post it all up at once, but I posted up most of the remaining Paul Proteus content, archive content on my YouTube channel. I mean, I use it for my personal stuff and I use it for archiving. Otherwise, I really don't care if people subscribe to my YouTube or not. Like, I've only got 63 subs on YouTube. I had over 200 on BitChute until some reason BitChute dropped off for in the last 24 hours. So I'm back down under 200 at BitChute. But I mean, I'm at the one other thing about YouTube. It was a little bit too easy for conglomerations of people to get together uh, on YouTube and to mass flag people on YouTube to get their content taken down. And I have noticed that in particular, one of the reasons why I've posted up archive MGTOW content on my YouTube page is because what I'm noticing is that if these content creators leave or die, which is exactly what's happened with both Spetsnaz and Paul Proteus, both of those men are dead, right? I've noticed that their content eventually gets taken down. Same thing happened with Sunrise Hoodie. The content gets taken down, it gets reported and whatever, and they're no longer alive, so they just don't restart their channels. That content, it was a little bit too easy. You can't mass flag Rumble specifically. I think Rumble even has a specific group of people that go around and look for people attempting to mass flag those campaigns. And if you try to mass flag on Rumble, you'll end up, you and anyone who gets involved at Rumble will end up losing your account and not the person who actually they were targeting. But yeah, they're emphasizing AI content on YouTube. And the last thing I'm going to say about this, and I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Every time YouTube does this, Rumble just gets that much stronger. And that's where I'm going to leave off. I'm sure Roger has some comments about Rumble and whatever, but yeah, Roger, off to you.
Yeah, I am very, very surprised that I was able to get back on here. I have been simulcasting, but I'm trying to get everything back up again. What happened was I've been running my router on a charger because of electrical problems here at home, and I forgot to change the chargers over before I did the stream. So my internet got cut off in between, and I apologize for that. But good thing is I'm back up and going. I still have Rumble going from what I see, and I've got
I can
Twitch.
hear you. You're coming through just fine right now.
Okay, and Twitch and Kick is going still too, but I'm trying to get D Live and X back up and running at the moment. Now, there was something I did want to point out for you and anybody who's on here that is actually using YouTube. And this has been videos that's been passed around on YouTube for a little while, and I actually did do research into it, and it's a warning to people when it comes to their views. It concerns AI. Now you're going to see videos on there where these guys are going to be talking about automatic dubbing in your upload defaults in your settings in YouTube Studio. What I found out is what they're saying is 100% absolutely true. Okay. If you enable automatic dubbing on there, it's going to mess up your views. Sometimes on not all of them, but some of them actually automatically enable it. On most of them, you go in there and you have to enable it yourself. But if you are serious about wanting views, I suggest that you go in there and you take care of that. There's other things in here that are in there that are related to AI as well that you want off of your settings. And the one thing is in on your channel in automatic or advanced settings, they have automatic captions. Turn uh, that
Turn that on or turn that off.
turn that off. I've got I've got I've got to figure out where I'm. Oh, D Live actually kicked in finally, but yeah, turn that off. That is definitely not good. Get rid of your automatic captions on there. That is something else that they have on there that's going to screw your views up. Now, that goes into kind of what you're talking about with promoting AI. The reason why AA, or sorry,
Well, they act like people in AA, except they don't drink.
the reason why YouTube is promoting AI so strongly is because they're actually incorporating AI into their program. Now, you think like Facebook and YouTube is bad enough where everything is automatic. You know what I mean? Where humans aren't helping you out when it comes to help and support and stuff like that. It's going to even get worse. Now they're going to incorporate AI into their actual programming to where it's doing what humans are supposed to be doing. You're hearing a lot about Amazon firing people, and the reason why they're doing that is because they are replacing them with AI technology and stuff, and that's kind of what's going on right now when it comes to YouTube and Facebook and all these other ones. But I did check that out, and if you guys have seen those videos, trust me when I tell you it's 100% true. Turn those off, get them off there. Now, another thing I want to mention too is I've been doing, or I was doing a show with Tan Hai Tran and Mark Edworthy, and we did it. It was called Tech Talk, and we got really, really involved with the whole thing behind AI or LLMs, whatever you want to call them. And I went more towards the audio direction of it, and I did research into it. And what I had found out, because there's more than just video, making videos and stuff. You can do videos, pictures, you can do music, things of that nature. But you have things like Sirius too, where if you want the the little box to do something for you, you just talk to it. What I found out is, and it's all over the internet, everywhere if you look for it, but AI can also be harmful to people who have mental illnesses. They're finding out that it is very harmful to these people, and what I found out from it is it can be harmful to it because I mean, well, you've been in 12-step programs. You know what I'm about to say. Okay, when it comes to people with mental illnesses, They shouldn't always be catered to and told exactly what they need to be told. Um, and that's why AI does. Like when you sit in front of your computer and you're talking to, or you're typing and communicating with Chat GPT, and you don't want to hear something, you can easily just tell it, "I don't ever want to hear that again," and you'll never hear it again. You
Oh well,
know.
they see that. If I could just step in here, that was that.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the reason why the AI models on OnlyFans are doing better than are starting to take over from real women. Because I mean, it's like you post stuff up to real women, or you say something inappropriate. Like for instance, there's one that I have spoken to a couple of times. I will. This one I will mention her name. When she's been on Facebook, she did. I ran into her. I said something to her one time on Facebook, and I said something. I also ran into her one time on Instagram. Lisa Ann, older
Hmm.
porn star. She has zero qualms. If you say something or post something inappropriate, like she will ban you like immediately. Like she just does not have time. Because you get older, you just haven't got time for that bullshit anymore. And I totally get where she's coming from, right? And I mean, like, she will actually like chastise. And another one that will do it is Alex. I think her name's Alex Links. If you post something inappropriate on her channel, like I mean, she will actually tear a fucking strip out of you, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, when you're dealing with a real woman, right? If you violate their boundaries, I mean, they will take fucking action, right? As opposed to like say AI, like you're talking about the mentally ill, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about sexuality and mental illness, those two have a bad habit of going together, right?
Hmm.
So these AI, and I mean, I've again, right? I mean, I've seen cases where guy or somebody, I think was in Georgia, where a person killed a somebody because he was spending so much money on this one OnlyFans model to the point where he was like literally stealing money to talk to us against. Like this woman does not give a shit about you, but he was doing it anyway. He eventually committed homicide over it, and he's now sitting in jail, right? Yeah, that's what you're talking about when I'm talking about the indulgent nature of AI. So yeah, continue.
Well, the thing of it is too is it's also in the way that AI is put together. Okay, now the thing of it is people don't understand really what's going on in the process when you're communicating with AI. AI is catering to your needs, but you also have to understand why it's doing that. It's listening to you because it's trying to learn how to be a human. Okay. And what it's doing is it's if you're talking to it verbally, it's listening to the tone of your voice to find out if you're angry, upset, sad, mad, whatever. And then it has to learn how to communicate to you properly according to those tones. So if it's hearing you and you're talking angry and upset, it's going to try to talk to you in a way that's settle for you to where freaking it caters to you. You know what I mean? Um, and it does that in all those different ways. So what it's basically doing is it's feeding your mental illness. A person who has mental illness needs to have somebody who's sober freaking thinking and is willing to say, look, man, what you're doing is going a little bit off into left field. You need to come back over here and you need to be on the straight and narrow. That's not what you're going to get if you're on AI or Chat GPT or anything. You're going to be stuck in a fantasy world where everything you want to hear is being told to you. And I know a few people who are like that right now, where they're just completely focused on playing with AI and they don't want to deal with the real world, you know. And this is worse than any video game or anything of that nature. Okay, because what it's doing is it's tapping in to your brain. Okay, A lot of these systems are going off of programs that are um, imitating the neurological system in the brain. Okay, it's literally doing the same process that the human brain does. So it's connecting to you when you're communicating with it. So understand that. You know what I mean? It's really really a lot more intense than what people make it out to be. It's not a game. You know what I mean? This is some real serious stuff if you read into it and learn about it, because this is they've got computer chips now that are actually biological. Okay, they've taken freaking stem cells and created freaking computer technology off of freaking stem cells. They're not artificial intelligence, they're biological intelligence. They took stem cells, put them in a freaking platter, and taught them how to play a video game. Okay, and I'm not lying. That's not craziness right there. That's actual proof. I mean, you can check it out if you want to, but this is what's going on in this kind of technology. So understand it when I tell you that if you have mental illness, at least moderate yourself when it comes to using AI. And you're right, it is good to use AI if you use it within context. Because if you've ever noticed on my videos, I've got AI pictures and all that on there all the time. So I have no problem with using it whatsoever. But all I'm saying is just moderate yourself with it. Don't get carried away.
Yeah, okay, hold on a second here. I'm just gonna. I mean, I've experimented with it, just to come up with a, just to come up with a, just to come up with new, just to come up with new with new backgrounds
Mhm.
for my show. And I have come up. I keep in mind none of them have been particularly good, but this one here that I'm gonna bring up here just in a second. Uh, Except for the fact that the L at the end is kind of like wrong. I mean, this was actually a very. This is actually not a. This one wouldn't have been a bad one. I mean, I have to work out with it, but I mean, I've got on my other laptop. I've got other AI content, Red Pill Nation logos that are actually very good that I haven't actually used yet. I've been also tempted to go and like maybe generate a some some AI bumper music and you compose say you use AI but use it selectively and come up with something that is AI assisted but is not AI like but I mean I just put the various elements together and I come up with something that's still mine. I mean that's when AI is used that way or you use AI like for instance like the two shorts that I saw, like one was of Lord of the Rings, but it was Lord of the Rings using using the Warhammer 40K universe as the backdrop, and I was actually very very interesting piece of content. I actually liked it, and it was you know it was and and it was like, and I would post that up, and there'd be people bitching about the fact that it was AI, and it's like, yeah, well, dude, you know what? Like, if you're bitching about the fact that it's AI, the problem isn't AI. The problem is you.
Right.
Sorry, man. It's like, yeah, if you use AI properly, it can be a very good complement to whatever it is you're trying to do,
Well, you know
right?
what? You know what I really like about AI, though. The most important thing I like about AI, and people are going to tell you this on YouTube, especially. Though, don't do that. You're going to get in trouble, and it's a load of shit. But it's the music. Okay, they're trying to make claims now on YouTube that they're going to get you for copyright infringement with AI and everything, and I'm like, no, dude. Um, for me, I think that was the best thing that AI ever did was come out with the music because I'm sick and tired of going to these freaking free to use music sites and using this music that's supposed to be free for everybody to use and get hit with a copyright infringement 2 years down the road because these people changed their mind, you know. Um, and
Well, I mean, there's again, that's another YouTube thing. There's people that literally go onto sites, and that's all they do all day is they look for music violations.
mhm,
Like
it's
I had at one time. I just had let's get this party started. I actually just had that in for about 30 seconds at one point on one of my videos, and I got a copyright strike, and I had to take it down. Right,
yeah.
and it's like, I can't be bothered with it. So I mean, coming up with the AI music and just like coming up with like an original thumbnail, or using AI video generation to just generate my own intro.
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with that, right? But it's like, yeah, that there's some very sleazy, underhanded stuff happening when it came. I mean, again, right? You go to the again. That's what I heard about the free music sites. You go to these free music sites, you borrow somebody's music, and then they change their minds and they go after you. And they don't just go after you for just that one video. Like they like in some cases they'll try to do is they'll try to claim like everything that you've made over say 6 months or something like that, right? And it's
Hmm.
sort of like, you're not entitled to that, but YouTube just simply goes along with it, right? And it's like, yeah, and Rumble's not quite so bad, but I mean, again, right, that's just the way YouTube does stuff. Anyway, are we done here? Can we move on to the next topic?
The one thing too that you did mention that I wanted to say something about is the females on there. You know what I mean? Whenever you go on there and you see those females, um, the thing about those females is they take and they pull the faces of like 5 or 10 different freaking females in real life and they merge them together. And I found out that that was actually done back in the 17 or 1800s. It was originally considered pseudoscience. And the guy was actually into law enforcement, and he wanted to prove that if you took the faces of all these different criminals and you put them together, that it would show the true face of a criminal. Well, to his surprise, when he put them all together, because you can do that with pictures too. But when he did that, the actual face he started with, compared to the new one looked better than what the freaking original picture did. So that's why you're getting all these beautiful faces and everything is because they're superimposing all these images together to come up with that character.
Oh, well, I mean, they did this. I mean, that here's again. I mean, because we're going to be getting into the like topic number 6 is going to be a manosphere content issue.
Hmm.
But I mean, like you don't see it on Fresh and Fit, but you will see it on whatever. And it's like they'll sit around this table, and every single woman at that table will declare herself to be a 10. And it's like, no, no, you're not. And here's why. And some of them will actually get legit pissed off. And it's like, they did research 25, 30 years ago. They took some of the most attractive women in the world at that point, and they did what you exactly what you're talking about, the face of the criminal. They amalgamated their faces, and they came up with like, this is what the a 10 would more or less look like.
Hmm.
And when you take a look at that face, there are women that actually do have that face and that body that are legit 10s, right? That's extremely rare. I mean, most women. I mean, I can think. Trying to think of a woman that looked like Halle Berry at her peak was like that. Trying to think. There's this one adult model, Veronica Zemanova. Yeah, she was an actual 10. You remember
Yeah,
Veronica
yeah.
Zemanova? Yeah, she was a full blown 10. There's a model right now called Michaela Damache. She's a legit Julia Lynn Sandoval. Like there's a few like I can't think. Oh, Selma Hayek at her peak. She was also I could easily qualify her as being a 10 as well. Like their tens are extremely fucking rare, right?
Mhm.
Like tens are extremely rare. Um, and it's like you have these women after women saying, "Well, I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10." It's like, no, you're not, right? Because it's been scientifically actually shown what a 10 looks like, and you ain't it. By the way, we also have to talk about the mayor of New York here, and I'm running out of time for this photo to be. I've had this photo up for an extended period of time, so I want to move on to the next topic. So unless you got something else to say on this one, we need to keep this moving.
Just love the gilfs.
Yep. All right, so yeah, let's get into. All right, I'm going to leave this one up for another couple minutes here. It's a bit of an extended one here. Let me just timestamp this. Okay, so during the ICE protests, and by the way, the ICE protests got really bad. Apparently, there's a website. It got taken down. Twice people actually put up websites that were doxing ICE agents and so on and so forth, and they both got taken down rather quickly. But one of the things that happened during those protests is that, yeah, okay, LA, a lot of the so-called woke cities had riots and whatnot, but New York, Eric Adams surprisingly put his foot down, right? Like there's a couple of cities that ended up being a little bit of a surprise. New York, which is probably one of the wokest cities in the U.S., actually, Eric Adams called up the police and he put his foot down on the ICE protests in New York City. Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that was involved in that, but yeah, he actually came out and he actually got the attempted riots under control in New York, and nothing happened. Well, there are some very, very sleazy politicians that have come out, bad politicians. I think Cory Booker from New Jersey.
Yeah, Booker, I believe, is from New Jersey.
Is he from the metropolitan of New Jersey, like up in the northern part, or is he from like the southern part of New Jersey? I can't remember specifically. I think he's a northern guy, isn't he?
Booker, I really didn't want to keep a track of, but I can Google it real quick and find out.
But I
Politics,
mean, yeah, there's Cory Booker. There's the god damn
Cory
it. There's
Booker.
There's AOC. Oh my God. To give you an idea of how bad it has gotten for the Democrats, AOC is legit, and Pete Buttigieg as well, are legitimately being hyped up as potential VP candidates
He
for
was the
Gavin
he was the
Newsom.
he was the 38th mayor of Newark.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, he's from northern New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah.
The But I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of skitty, but Eric Adams has been a bit of a surprise. He's a Democrat. Now, the Democrats in New York, and this just blew my mind away. This tells you how bad it's gotten with the Democrats. The Democrats for the New York election coming up later this year nominated a communist Muslim or socialist named Zoran Mamdani as their candidate. Zoran Mamdani would have allowed the protests in New York City to run amok. He's pro-ban the police. He wants to turn New York into a sanctuary city. I mean, basically, he's a full-on leftist. and the New York Democrat Party made him their selection for the mayoral race, and he's going to be going up against Eric Adams. Now, hopefully, Eric Adams is able to hold on to this, but I mean, the fact that, and again, you kind of expected New York because New York's a blue city, right? And it's, but the fact of, and I mean, I saw videos of this guy where he was actively egging on some of the pro Hamas protests that were taking place in the city. When he got asked, he's been asked repeatedly, does he denounce Sharia law? And he comes up with that wishy-washy kind of dismissive type of answer when he's challenged on this. And I mean, in the United States, there is a clear, like, it's written right into the bill. I think it's the Constitution that there is a separation between church and religion. And Zoran Mandami just will not denounce Sharia law. Like, he will not do it. And, the fact that, and we're not just talking about any city here. I mean, just like with LA, of course, the mayor of LA, it turned out when they started looking, had knowingly participated in knowingly participated in like indoctrination camps in Cuba and whatnot. So it was like, no, well, yeah, no wonder everything went to shit in New York City, right? In LA. But Eric Adams held the line in New York, and yeah, the it's becoming, well. I mean, it was already pretty clear what was going on with the Democrat Party. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that the Democrat Party has gone so far to the left now that a guy like Zoran Mandami is actually being seriously considered as a mayoral candidate, and he actually might even have a chance. Now, hopefully, what will happen is that there will be enough, like, they will put in, like, it's like this again, this is written right into the Constitution, right? Like, there is a clear separation between church and state in the United States, like, period. End of fucking story. Like, there is a clear separation between church and state in the US. And hopefully he gets put, more or less made to be Johnny on the spot here, and is forced to justify his actions and his beliefs. Because I mean, yeah, like, you cannot have, like, I mean, this guy would be like, I mean, he would turn New York into what basically has been happening in San Francisco. And here's the thing, the Democrat Party in New York went with this guy in spite of his record. They decided to support this guy, which is really fucking frightening. And again, hopefully, and I'm not a very big fan of Eric Adams, but I don't live in New York. But I mean, scary as hell that he was even able to get to that level. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, I heard about this on Censorship Sucks show the other day, and he brought up a good point too, which is something. But I mean, he did the same thing like you just did, where he talks about the Sharia law and everything. But like, for me, what that does for me is that just takes focus off the important thing, the fact that this man's a communist and he is being nominated for a freaking position in a United States city. You know what I mean? Um, so, like, with the whole religion thing, okay, Sharia law. Well, let's take a look at the facts here. Now, the majority of the people in the United States who we call the founders of our country, the founding fathers, um, they actually put that law into place for a reason. Um, Now, the reason why they did that was because they didn't want any kind of religion that affecting government. They wanted it to be secular. That means it had to be um, a country where everybody with their faith could come to this country and worship the way they wanted to. Okay, so the fact that Christians are trying to dominate by throwing this Muslim ideology against Muslims is completely against everything that the United States stands for. And that's according to our own Constitution and the way we believe, or way we're supposed to believe. Um, Now, that right there by itself tells you how distorted and screwed up the United States has become. All right. We have this idea that freaking our country was built off of this idea that we believe in the Christian God, when in fact, a lot of these people who put that law into effect didn't even believe in God. Okay. Um, and that's a known fact too, if you go and you do the research on that. But, no, that's no, not here nor say when it comes to that topic. But you can check it out yourself. Um, Now, when it comes to this Muslim communist supposedly becoming the governor of New York, the thing that really sticks out to me is
The
something,
mayor of New York City, not
or
the governor.
the mayor, I'm sorry. The thing that sticks out to me is something that censorship said the other day. You take a look at New York, okay, and there is a crap load of freaking wokeism in New York, but it's also the freaking capitalist capital of the world. Business is constantly taking place in New York. There's more capitalism there than anywhere else in the world, except for maybe Tokyo or Singapore. New York is where everything freaking goes. The stock market is there. You know what I mean? And yet, in the middle of that, they're wanting to vote in a communist to be in charge of that city. It's completely insane. Okay, um, that right there tells you something when it comes to how distorted and crazy this country has become. And there's only one other city that I despise more than freaking Los Angeles, and that's New York. The first dirtiest, disgusting city on the face of this planet is New York. Okay, anybody who's been a truck driver will tell you that's the one place you don't want to go to. The second worst is Los Angeles, California. California sucks. New York sucks, but New York City is number one when it comes to that. Now, I don't know how it is in Canada because I know you guys keep your streets clean and all the women are like homely and
Okay, no, not all the women are not all the women are homely, but
well,
yeah, the
from what
streets
I've
are
seen,
kept clean. Yeah.
from what I've seen, all I've seen is like homely Canadian girls. That's all I've seen
Okay, no, no,
with
no, that's not the case.
with small boobs. Like I've never seen a big boob Canadian woman unless
I
she
have. There's lots of them around.
unless she's fat. Unless she's fat. I'm sorry.
Okay, man. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all I gotta say about that.
All right. Well, other than the fact that you insulted Canadian women, which, by the way, as a MGTOW, I really don't give a shit about. But yeah, no, they're not all homely.
I heard they were.
All right. So let's move. Yeah. So yeah. Scary as actual fuck that this guy got to where he got. That's all I'm going to say about it. But yeah, let's get into the last topic. And this one's actually this one is right up my alley. And it's in response to the fact that the New York Times actually went and put out an article talking about how women are getting frustrated because there just seems to be a total lack of men anywhere, right? And like a lot of men are not even trying. So basically what is going on here is that even though, and I know there's going to be some people that are going to scream incel. If you're one of those individuals that's going to come up here and start posting incel, you think, yeah, go fuck yourself, dude. I, for one, am not getting married. It would basically like there's just such an imbalance of power right now between the genders in terms of, especially when it comes to marriage, that I would not even consider it at this point. Like it would literally be out of the question for me. Like that's how far I've gotten on this issue. But for whatever reason, because it was the New York Times ran this article, and for whatever reason, this time people actually commented on it, probably because the New York Times did it. Now, here's a couple things, and this was noted inside the MGTOW community when Pierre Polyev had a guy on his staff, who I personally suspected was probably a MGTOW, but Justin Trudeau and the people on the liberal side literally could not bring themselves to say the word MGTOW. Here it is. And I don't care if fucking YouTube fucking reports me for this, or you report me for this. MGTOW, 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 MGTOW. Okay. Um, the whole issue here is that it's like, yeah, like we were talking about the way how Japan has had to sneak in a bat.
Hey, what? Uh,
How that happened right after I used that
yeah, you
MGTOW
got.
comment. All of a sudden, boom!
Well,
All of a sudden, it was like boom, bam, gone,
mm-hmm. So like, and
bam,
it happens to me too. It's really
right?
weird how it does that.
Yeah, it's just bam,
Mm-hmm.
gone, and it was like, the whole thing just kind of, and it was like, and like for the first time ever, like I heard individuals commenting on this in places that don't usually describe manosphere content, right? And there were a couple, like Clownfish TV said the word MGTOW. Hold on, here comes. I'm going to lose it again. Um, but like most of the major outlets just simply, and I don't really care if you like me saying this, but I'm going to say it because I know it makes people as uncomfortable as all fuck, right? Whether you like it or not, whether you think that you, just because you're not seeing MGTOW on Reddit and because you throttle the fucking content of MGTOW on Facebook and Instagram and try to bury it, it doesn't mean that it didn't go, or you try to bury the content on YouTube and suppress the content on YouTube. Doesn't mean it didn't go away. I've had to tell people who thought, oh, well, MGTOW's done, it's gone, it's whatever. It's like, no, 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 MGTOW's around. We're still around, man. Uh, you just haven't seen us very much because you're looking at the mainstream content. A lot of the guys in the manosphere, what they figure out fairly quickly is that you're not going to get the type of information that you need to make the proper decisions by using mainstream content. So they go. That's why I was talking about that with the second topic here with Mark Carney and the digital tax. That's an attempt to stymie the alt media, and the situation is that what's happened now is that even though they have gone to almost heroic lengths to bury manosphere content. I mean, first of all, I can tell you, right? Like, if you go to Fresh and Fit, if you go to Roll Tomasi, or you go to any, even the Red Pill content creators, like a lot of the stuff that they talk about on the Rose Red Pill shows or the PUA shows, a lot of their stuff is borrowed from MGTOW, right? Like a lot of the stuff that they're quoting is actually like stuff that from the MGTOW community. They're just passing it off as their own. Like there's a lot of like Better Bachelor, Coach Greg Adams. A lot of people don't know this, but the guy who hosts the show of whatever, also used to do a lot of MGTOW content, right? Like I mean, like that's part of the reason why on his show in particular, you know, he allows Andrew Wilson to go in to go in the paint hard on some of the delusional women that show up on that show. And I mean, like you hear about the bad stuff that goes on that show, but I mean, these women, these mainstream articles that will comment on whatever and Fresh and Fit, they always leave out some very convenient facts, right? They've mentioned they never mention the fact that, like these women that they go after say some of the stupidest, most fucking deluded bullshit that I have ever heard in my life, right? And like stuff that they absolutely positively need to have their bullshit called out on, right? Like they don't tell you about that stuff. Same thing with Andrew Tate. Like Andrew Tate calls a spade a spade. I mean, I have a very mixed opinion of Andrew Tate, and I think a lot of guys in the manosphere, and I know a lot of guys in the manosphere, like they eventually grow past Tate. Like Tate is somebody kind of like what Sandman is for MGTOW. Tate is for the Manosphere what Sandman is for MGTOW. He's basically 101, and then you advance beyond him. Uh, but yeah, the article was where it has all the good men gone. And it's like, well, you know what? If you're going to do shit like, oh, say, choose the bear, and you're going to come up with, and by the way, when I was doing the Rookie 5 live stream, I was actually doing shows that involved nothing but memes. And the reason why by the way, why I haven't been doing that show lately is that because my schedule has been so unstable that I haven't been able to do it at a fixed set time for the past couple of months. But I mean, like I was doing shows where I was doing nothing but memes. And the reason why I was doing nothing but memes is because and by the way, these were memes that were appearing on my feed at Instagram and Facebook. I wasn't going out looking for them. This was stuff that was appearing on the Manosphere feeds, right? And just an endless stream of just diluted stupidity, right? And it's absolutely nonstop, and it's like every decision that a guy makes is wrong. And we were talking about the AI girlfriends, for instance, right? Like that's part of the appeal about the AI girlfriends is that, I mean, like when you're dealing with an AI girlfriend, right? In a
Mhm.
lot of cases, when you're dealing with them, what you're doing isn't fucking wrong, right? Like it's like, like if you're an older guy and you approach a woman and she's a little bit on the younger side, you're a creep. If you don't approach her, you're gay. If you fucking go MGTOW,
Damn
you're a
straight.
frustrated virgin. It's like every when you reach the point where every decision that you make is fucking wrong, and even if you do jump through all the hoops and get into a long term relationship, right? And you marry her, at any point, just because she's bored or she doesn't like what you're doing, she can just divorce you and literally potentially take all half your stuff unless you know exactly what you're doing in court. And the court system when it comes to divorce is so corrupt that the lawyers involved in it and the judges too know how to rig the system to make a divorce drag out potentially for years, and have them help you if you've had kids, man. Because it's like I saw a documentary called Divorce Incorporated, where it's like if there's kids involved, it was like this one lawyer was like saying, it was like, well, we just refer to kids as little bags of money. Right? Like if there's kids involved, they can keep the court proceedings going for years and generate. So yeah, you've got that corruption on top. And then of course you've got like every move you make is wrong. Feminism is toxic as fuck. The family courts are corrupt as hell, right? And it's like, yeah, no wonder guys are. And it's like you've got a situation now where it's like every decision that a guy makes is bad, right? Like I had a situation here just last year where I was talking to this one woman at an LRT station, and this decrepit old battle axe. And of course, she had three guys backing her up, but she like literally came over and started ripping into me because there was a bit of an age difference between me and the girl I was talking about, and she actually got threatening, and like her fucking son actually tried to assault me, right? Every decision you make is, like I say, every decision you make is wrong. You can't make it. So it's like if you're in a situation like that, it's like a lot of guys are just going to go, even without access to the manosphere. Like a lot of guys are just going to go, yeah, fuck it, I'm out. Like I am fucking out. And I really honestly cannot blame them for doing that. And it's like, or they get AI girlfriends and they just can't be bothered, right? It's like, and at some point, these men do eventually come into. I mean, like for instance, at work this week, there was a guy who I had to boot off the basketball court because it was afterwards, and he was like saying, "Well, I just needed to blow off some steam because I fucking told this girl that I liked her, and she said no." And it was like, "Oh, okay, I get that, right?" And it was like, and then he started describing the situation to me, and I looked at him and says, "Like, yeah, dude, you've been fucking friend zoned. Like, you got friend zoned. Sorry, man. There's no easy way to tell you about that. And if you've been
Fucking
friend zoned,
loser. Fucking loser.
well, I won't call him a loser, but it was sort of like, yeah, dude. Like,
You're a
speaking from,
fucking loser.
if
Fucking
you're,
done got fucking cock blocked because she thinks of you as a friend.
yeah, it's like, yeah, dude. Like, if you're at the point where you're in the friend zone with her, and I'm talking from direct personal experience here,
Mm-hmm.
if you've if you've hit that point with a with a woman, it's like you're literally better off just moving on to another one. Focus on your life, move on to another one, because it's like, it doesn't matter. And also, right, it's like, a lot of women, like, and this is something that Rearson told me about, because I remember I got kind of bent out of shape here was last year, was it the year before? I think it was 2023 when I found out that don't. So it was the end of 2020. Yeah, maybe it was the end of 20, somewhere in the fall of 2020. I found out that Miss 2016 had gotten engaged. And Rearson pointed this out, and he was actually quite right about this. It's like, yeah, take a look at the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's now in her early 30s. I think she's turning 33. No, she's turning 34 next year. She's 33, she's turning 34, and it's like, take a look at the guy, right? And it's like the guy's a fucking settle, right? And he probably is very aware of the fact that he's a settle. And it's like, yeah, holy shit, you're fucking right. The dude's a fucking settle. And um, you know, it's like, so you go after these chicks, and you wait for them to quote unquote sow their wild oats, you know And like in the past, these guys would just simply wait their turn, right? And it's sort of like, and now you've got guys in the manosphere that are going up to these guys. I have literally and figuratively seen a situation where one guy who was stuck in who had a really bad case of fucking one-itis, right? Like I wasn't the one who did this, but somebody else did. He like literally picked the fucking dude up, slammed him against the fucking wall, and said, "Move the fuck on." Like a woman that gives a shit about you doesn't fucking, even if you told her you liked you and she's still going off with other fucking guys, she doesn't give a shit about you. Like,
Mhm.
move the fuck on. Like, like, yeah, okay, she's a nice woman. She gives you attention, right? You hang out, you have a good time, but that, like, you're not getting anything out of her, right? Move the fuck on. Find somebody else. You don't fucking worry about what she's doing, right? Because, like, I mean, when you get to the end of the line with a woman like that, and she does eventually get around to you, I hate to break it to you, man, but you're a fucking settle. Right? Is that what you want to be? Do you want to be the fucking settle? It's like, oh hey, yeah, thanks for finally noticing me after uh after all this time. Gee, I what am I supposed to say? I'm like, yeah, no, fuck off. You had your chance, right? You should have been to quote that one song from George Michael. Take a look at your hands. You should have been my woman when you had the chance, right? Like move. And this is what's happening is like suddenly, like these women are sowing their wild oats, and then they get to the end of the fucking line, and these guys aren't around anymore, right? They're not around anymore because there's guys in the manosphere that are looking at these guys and putting them against the fucking wall and like telling them, it's like, yeah, this woman gave a shit about you. Why isn't she with you? Like, why isn't she with you right now? Right? And now they're whining and they're crying and they're blaming the fucking manosphere because like these are bitter, lonely guys who can't get fucking laid, and they don't want to wait around for you because you're not because you're a pathetic loser and you're impatient, you're like whatever excuse name it. I've heard them all, right? Uh no, right? You had your chance. In fact, in a lot of cases with some of these guys with one-itis, they had multiple chances to hook up with this guy, you know, and they kept choosing to go off with the fucking tatted up dude bro and fuck the tatted up dude bro and go through the same fucking cycle over and over and over again until they quote unquote grew out of it, right? And by the way, I can think of 6 women that I knew that went through that cycle just with me, right? And I didn't wait around for them, obviously, because I knew better. But I mean, I know 6 women without even having to think about it, and it does. And if you're one of those people that says, "Well, that doesn't happen," oh, they just grow up, or they just mature, or whatever. It's like it does happen, right? The fact that I am able to think of more than a handful of women who are like this without even having to think about it. Without even having to think about it, right? Tells me that all I need to know, right? And so like, well, yeah, your experience is not relativistic, is not the only thing. It's like, yeah, okay, it's not my experience. Would you like me to find 100 other guys that have gone through the exact same thing? Like get fucking real, right? Like, yeah, like seriously, like get fucking real, right? Like guys are just fucking sick of it. They know they've got options. They know they're being told they've got options because there's guys in the manosphere telling them that they've got options. And behind it all is MGTOW, and nobody wants to. No one want. This is almost like dare not say its name because it's like if they say the name publicly, they give the whole concept power, right? But it's there. It didn't go away. It's just under the surface, and whether you like it or not, it never went away. Just because you tried to bury it doesn't mean it didn't went away. It's still there. And you're seeing its impact everywhere now, right? Like even with the content producers that still have regular shows, like The Rational Male and Fresh and Fit and Donovan Sharp and Terrence. Well, actually, Terrence Pop is a MGTOW, but I mean, I digress, right? But you're seeing them, but I mean, they all pull a lot of their content from MGTOW wisdom originally. And if you don't like that, if you think that you can sit there and scream and yell and deride me and call me a fucking virgin and an incel till your fucking jaw drops off, right? Um, my response is, and this is what it really basically comes down to, is that any involvement you have with a woman basically hands her a metaphorical gun that she can choose to use on you at any time, even decades later. Prove me wrong. Oh well, you're being paranoid. That's not an answer. Prove me fucking wrong, right? And it's like, because I've seen it happen, right? And it's like, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And if you have a problem with that, well, again, just like with the AI content, man, that is your problem, not mine. And I'm going to turn it over to Roger so we can take this show out.
Well, I mean, you covered pretty much all of it. The only thing I want to point out is this: like, men aren't having any desire to get married anymore because freaking they want pussy. Okay, that's it. Like, if a man wants to have a marriage with a woman, that means he needs to have pussy. So women need to put out. And like all these freaking chicks, man, going from guy to guy, and another guy standing back getting played. That's a guy with low self esteem, you know. Um, whenever I really started looking at that, I had to realize one thing, that I feel love. That doesn't mean that freaking it's a two-way street. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys that fall in love with a woman and they don't realize that it's not being brought back to you. You know what I mean? Just because you love somebody doesn't mean that that person loves you back. So you got to take that into consideration. And if you are a man and you want a woman who is going to appreciate you for who you are, you get yourself a fat woman. See, fat women know what dick is. So when they get dick, they're freaking happy, dude. They know what they got and they appreciate it. You get these skinny women that freaking been skinny all their life. They don't give a shit about none of that. They'll go from one man to the next. Now, if you can find a fat woman that loses weight, freaking that's like freaking icing on the cake, dude, because she looks hot and she was fat at one time and she still appreciates good dick when she gets it. That's all I got. But you didn't like that, huh? He stepped away.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry, that was the issue. Okay. So yeah, the question, men, where have you gone? Please come back. Yeah, they moved on. They moved on with their lives. They got sick of waiting around for you, and there's guys out there now that are gonna fucking put you up against the wall, and they're gonna go like, yeah, dude, like she doesn't give a fucking shit about you. Like, sorry, man, like she just doesn't. And move the fuck on. Go find somebody else. Fuck the friend zone. I mean, yeah, like for instance, like there was a case, for instance, like say Randy Gerber eventually got Cindy Crawford, but not before Cindy Crawford burned through Richard Gere. She actually fucking married Richard Gere. She went through like 3 or 4 fucking guys before she finally settled with Randy Gerber, right? and
Randy
didn't
Gerber. I mean, come on, dude. Seriously, even his name. You know, what I mean, Gerber. Really?
yeah, so it's like she doesn't give a shit. If she doesn't give a shit about you, like, why are you waiting around for her? Right? It's like, and this is something, and I there's a lot of angry men in the manosphere, and some of them go, "Oh well, she's fucking got to use dried up fucking pussy and whatnot." And I'm like,
I love dried up pussy.
yeah, and it's like an aged dried up pussy. By the time she gets to you, it's like, oh, don't, oh wow, now you notice me. Oh well, don't do me any favors. And then of course, right, by that age, of course, right, it's like the baby rabies kick in too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Oh
you know, when you find one with cobwebs, you just move them cobwebs out of the way.
yeah. And then of course there's the baby rabies, and of course there are cases of women getting pregnant in their like my mom was in her late 30s when she had me, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, and this is something that they've recently discovered, that a lot of those women that had kids in their 40s, that became moms in their 40s or even their 50s or late 30s, a lot of those moms had had a kid when they were younger, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom got pregnant at night. I think she was like 21 when when she had my brother. She got pregnant she got pregnant when she was 19, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's like uh a lot of the women that get pregnant in their 30s got pregnant, they already had kids before, because there's a lot of women in their 30s that have never had kids and they really struggle with it. And it's like, yeah, there's a fertility issue, right? It's like, if you use the system once, it helps, basically, is what it appears to be. And again, but going back to the original question, right? Like, where have all the good men gone? They've moved on, right? It's like, if they it's like, and they've got Fred, there's enough guys in the manosphere now, and there's enough information out there, that when I talk to a random guy in the street and I mention stuff like friend zone and whatnot, they know what the fuck I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's like, so where have all the good men gone? They've gone their own way. They've gone MGTOW. MGTOW is definitely still around. Don't let the mainstream media fool you on this, right? MGTOW is still around. MGTOW is just there behind the scenes. And if you know what to listen for, I mean, hell, the vice president actually made a direct MGTOW quote during the election. It got missed by people, right? But he said it, right? That tells you that this information is out there, whether you liked it or not, whether you tried to bury it or not, it's out there, right? And like these guys that used to wait around for these women to quote unquote get around to liking them, they're not going to wait around for you anymore, right? If you're going to mistreat, if you're going to treat this guy like a disposable utility, because all of your other friends are telling you it's okay to treat this guy like a disposable fucking utility, because the fucking popular female culture is telling you that it's okay to treat this guy like a disposable utility. It's not. Okay? Like, the manosphere is around, it's getting bigger. Like, it's getting to the point where potentially Donald Trump himself is probably they're gonna have to probably start to address some of the issues that are being brought up by the manosphere, potentially as early as next year. Like, that's how quickly the manosphere is growing, because it's like, yeah, I encounter people who have even women that have manosphere information, that are that are on the street now. Like, this stuff is out there, and the fact that women have to come up with counter propaganda to counter the manosphere says a lot about where the manosphere is now. And unless Roger has anything to say, I think we're done for tonight.
Yeah, that's it. I just want to say that I love titties, and I think that freaking every woman should have titties. And titties are life givers. They're something that women need to start feeding their babies with. because if they did, then there'd be more men in the world who weren't freaking pussies.
Okay, well, I see you're breast obsessed just like I am, so.
That's it.
All right, so I will. That is it for the show tonight. I will just end on. I will just end on the word boobs, and that will be it for tonight. Just remember, I am at Patreon as the Red Pill Nation. Yeah, I'm going to have to start posting back up there. Uh, I will probably actually that was the really weird part. I will probably be over my count of 200 again on BitChute by this time next week based on growth. But yeah, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Bradeon, and YouTube. Mine's Gab, MeWe, Facebook, uh, TLB Talks, and Getter. There's also some other sites that are listed down in the low bar of Rumble. Tune in next week. We will be doing the same insane thing where we will be talking about boobs again because me and Roger just swing that way.
We love boobs.
Yeah, we love boobs, and yeah, I think we need more big naked boobs to be exposed to ourselves to make ourselves happy. And with that, that is it for tonight. Thank you very much for showing up, and we will see you on the next one.
Check you out later.